Welcome to Balanced Life with Debbie Carlin Boyle. Conversations connecting to a healthier you. The show that gives you all the latest and greatest health and wellness information to inspire you to live a life of balance and joy. Debbie Carlin Boyle is a health and nutrition coach, personal trainer, and fitness instructor who helps her clients live in balance with everything that feeds us, in addition to the food on our plate. Please welcome your host, Debbie Carlin Boyle.
Hello. Welcome, everybody. Welcome. I know it's a Tuesday. I don't normally do my show, and it's 3 o'clock, so it's a time I don't normally do my show, but I did advertise on all my social platforms, so hopefully you're with us today, and if you're not, hopefully you're seeing the show post-show, and that we thank you for joining us. So I am Debbie Carlin Boyle. I'm your host. This is Balanced Life. I am Conversations that Connect to a Healthier You. I highlight guests and products that hopefully help you lead a better life of well-being. And we have one of those shows today. This is a really special show for me, and I had to tape this for two reasons. One, because next Tuesday, which would be my normal show time, is Christmas Eve, and I figure I got a lot going on, and so probably do you. And two, my guest was available today because, as you're going to see in a second, she doesn't live in this country full-time. So I caught her during the holidays while she's here for the holiday season. So thank you for joining me today. I'd like to tell you that we want you to become part of the conversation. And to do so, a couple of ways you can do that. One is you can call in. So the call-in number has changed from the beginning of the year. And now it is area code 323-524-2599. So that's 323-524-2599. Call in, make a comment, ask a question, become part of this conversation today if you would like. You can also go to my Facebook page, which you can find at Fit by Design, also known as Balanced Life by Debbie, where the show is streaming live. And you can make a comment there at any time. I read it post-show. I will get back to you, and so will my guest if it's directed to them. So let's get started with a really fun show today. So when I talk about a balanced life, one of the components, without a doubt, is self-care. Self-care has many branches, one of which is healing your soul and personal discovery. Travel can do that for you. I'm living proof that it works, and I'm going to tell you why, because my guest today, Michelle Lee, creates curated travel experiences with a wellness component, which always includes yoga, which is also, without a doubt, transformational. Michelle has led a successful 13-year career in the corporate world before transitioning her career into strategic life and business coaching, designing and executing wellness retreats, including teaching yoga and growth embodiment classes. She holds a master's degree in spiritual psychology as well as an MBA in finance. Her deep inner work in the field of psychology, as well as an extensive career in the executive corporate world, has given her the wisdom and awareness that encompasses all areas of development. Through her extensive studies and committed personal growth rituals, she has created a therapeutic practice offering soulful transformational guidance. Michelle is a travel maiden, an animal lover, and a planet Earth worshiper. Yay. She lives part of the year in Florence, Italy, part in Los Angeles, and part wherever her heart takes her. So, without further ado, will you please welcome my guest, Michelle Lee, to the show. Yay, there's my audience. Welcome, Michelle.
Thank you, Debbie. I'm so grateful and happy to be here. Thank you for having me.
I am so honored, and I'm so thrilled that I got a moment, that I pulled you in and got you during this holiday season. I know it's a busy time for you. You're not in LA full time, and it's really not easy for you to squeeze stuff in, and I appreciate it.
I'm extremely appreciative and grateful for being here, and I loved getting to know you on the last retreat, and so now we're reconnecting, and that's my favorite thing. So
oh, good, yay! I told you on the retreat when I first met you, and I read your bio. I thought, oh, you have to do my show, and we talked about you doing it remotely, like we could do a Zoom thing, and then I thought, at some point Your family's here. You're going to come visit, and I'm going to create a show around you, and that's why we're doing the show today. So we're going to get in deep, okay, because we have some time.
Okay.
And I want to hear a little bit about you because from the bio, we know that you were in the corporate world, but you made a really big shift. But I want to kind of start from the beginning and hear about where you were born and raised and where you went to school and the things that led you to where you are today.
Okay.
So where are you from?
I'm actually local. I'm from Pasadena. So just around the corner from where we are now.
Okay.
And I went to school at UC Santa Barbara with a degree in biology.
Oh, you have a biology degree?
Yes, it was a pre-med degree. I know, kind of random, but
what did you want to do with that, if I may ask?
Well, I was considering medical school at the time.
All right.
But I think, if anything, it was just more I had an affinity towards math and science. I just always liked those classes, so I ended up majoring in something that could satisfy that in me.
Right.
So that's where I went to college. Then I went to business school at USC.
Oh, okay. Wow.
About 5 years after I was already in the corporate world, I was working for Schering Plough Pharmaceuticals at the time. So I was in sales, I was in the pharmaceutical world, and then I decided to go back to school to get originally a degree in marketing and sales.
Okay.
And,
wow.
I got back into school and I realized actually I really like math and finance better, and I'm better at it.
Yeah.
So I ended up kind of majoring in the finance part and finished that and went on my way, and then kind of just moved up a little bit in the corporate world. And I ended up working for a biopharmaceutical company in San Diego called Amlin. And I was there for almost 9 or 10 years.
Did you live in San Diego?
I didn't. I was based out of Manhattan Beach, but I was a sales manager and associate director of sales. So I managed sales reps in the Southern California, Nevada area.
Yeah.
And I could work from home, but the corporate headquarters were in San Diego, which was great. I mean, my territory, the job actually itself was fantastic, and it was full of amazing growth and learning opportunities for me, and I really loved the people that I was working with. It wasn't, I didn't change my life and my career because
you were miserable.
Like
you weren't miserable, which
I look back on it so fondly. I loved every bit of it.
Yeah, and that portion of your life guided you to where you are today. That experience was probably necessary to get to this point and for the growth that you've seen since then.
Yeah.
And it doesn't mean in some people find those kind of situations, I really hate my job. I've got to figure out a way to change it. And others use it to their advantage and really enjoy the experience. So they just know it's not a lifetime experience for them. Nothing negative to say about it. It's growth time.
No, and the older I get, what I really realize is that when I look back on all the events in my life, all of them just sort of come together in this perfect symphony for me to be doing exactly what I'm doing right now.
I love the way you put that, perfect symphony.
Yeah, because the coaching I do oftentimes has to do with transitioning your life and making big changes and taking risks like I did. And so I have a lot of clients that come to me that are in the corporate world and they want to leave, or they want to also pursue a passion or start over, be an entrepreneur.
Right.
Overall, just have a bigger sense of freedom and authenticity in their lives.
Right.
And so I did that. And so
that you're a great example that it works, and you are an inspiration to them. Plus, you can guide them through it because you have the credentials to do that as well, to get them through.
Well, there's a reference. There's an experiential reference that you have when you go through something that other people are seeking to go through. And so
big time.
Yeah, and then it all kind of came together. So it was a really great time in my life to have that.
Yeah,
that job.
It was synergetic. So you had this job that you really liked in pharmaceuticals, and then when did you go to the University of Santa Monica for spiritual psychology during this time, or?
I began going to the school to get a master's in spiritual psychology while I was still working, and then I left my job, I think about midway through.
Did that have something to do? Yes, it did.
Yeah, I mean, it absolutely. I think that, in my later 30s is when I went back to school for this. It really wasn't to become a coach or to change my life at all. What it was an opportunity for me that I was seeking to understand myself, my truth, to have my own personal healing and platform for growth in my life.
Good for
and
you.
It was a bridge into what ended up being a deeper spiritual path for me in my life and changing everything. So yeah, I think naturally when you begin to orient to authenticity and the truth of who you are, you begin to make different choices.
Yeah,
in your
you
life.
find your way. Your way finds you. The universe helps you find your way.
For sure.
You know, I had somebody on last week. It was Find Your Trail. You know, she is a hiking guide who had a huge transformation in her life, and it found her. She didn't find it. You know what I mean? And now she's got a full-time career doing these hiking programs, and she's franchised her programs for all over the world, so anybody can, you know, not reinvent the wheel. She's already got the guidance for them, and they can buy the program from her. So she's really found a way to monetize her passion, and she had no idea that this would be where she would end up. She used to be in sales for the Hollywood Reporter. And so I love stories like this because I think if more people just lived their passion and let just let one thing sort of lead to another authentically, naturally, transparency wise, then, the world is your oyster. You're unstoppable. Things come and you don't realize, which is...
Well, I think that's an interesting point, and I think a lot of people desire that very, very much in their lives. It's working through the fears of around safety and survival in your life, and also trusting that living in that place of uncertainty of what the future holds by taking these risks is a lot.
It is.
Living in that mystery feels like a lot of pressure.
Yeah, and you had two key words in there, fear and trust, They're sort of, they go against each other, but fear will paralyze anybody. And, and we do have to live. So I know you probably find as a coach, and I find a lot in my coaching practice because I work with a lot of people that are in a transition period. And, I work more with the physical sense, but part of the physical has to do with being satisfied in what you do with your life, what your career is, what your hobbies are, where you find your joy. And when I start working with them on that, there is a transition where they move out of one thing in their life to another. And that reflects on their physical health too, and on how they feed themselves and whether they're sleeping well and whether they're exercising or not, what kind of exercise and meditation, all of that shifts to where they see clarity and they get rid of the fear because the fear will hold you back, keep you very, very stuck. And I do a lot of shows on overcoming that. So those are really key words.
You could do a whole show just on that.
Yeah, and I have, and it's true. And there are books written about it. I've had people who've written those books on the show. And it is, if people could just trust to let go, find the balance where you don't just suddenly dive into something, but you gradually, which I'm sure as we go on with your story, you did. Like it wasn't something where you just abruptly said, I'm done. And then, I'm going to do this now. I mean, because unless you financially don't have that fear. So what happened? Tell us.
No, I'm laughing because I'm like, actually, maybe I did do that.
Oh, you jumped right in. So tell us.
I think it's different for everybody. And I did make a choice to just sort of quit my job and leave and not have another job after that. But at the same time,
trusted.
Well, I did, but I was also and I don't encourage people to ever do that. Really, it's just that I had been single. I didn't have a mortgage at the time. I had saved money.
Yeah. So that's the key.
And it's like
you were ready. You were ready.
Yeah, and I was willing to take that risk for myself. I didn't have children, and it wasn't like people were depending on me. And I think that for people that are in these situations where they have a family to take care of, and they have a mortgage, and they have car payments, and all of these things, it's like, making that leap into like...
It's much scarier.
It is. It's harder.
Because you're not just doing it for yourself. Other people are affected by it. In this case...
there's absolutely a path to that. And that's part of what I do when I work with people too. It's like when we talk about like moving through blocks and barriers and letting go of, limiting beliefs, but at the same time being realistic about, what are the next steps and how do we get you there based on what your needs are on a basic level. Because if you have too much fear on a basic needs level, if you're afraid that your basic needs aren't going to be met,
stress factor's high. Yeah.
You're too stressed out. You won't be able to focus on the things that you really want to do.
Yeah. And, I love people who come on and tell these stories that, and they're all different, yet they've all made a change in the way that worked for them, and that because they're so inspirational for people who really feel stuck. Because it's never too late. I am a huge product of that, changing my life late in my 50s, changing everything about what I was doing to earn money and everything, that I just went for my passion. Now, I had a side hustle for a long time, so I built it over a period of time, and the catalyst for me was divorce. That was the thing. And for everybody, it's different, but what we're here to say is it is never too late to take the chance, take the leap to find your purpose, find your happy place, find your joy, because it reflects in everything else we do, and how we see the world, how we take care of ourselves, how we come off to others, how others perceive us, and what we can give back to them. So that's what I love about what you're doing, and that's what I love about once I got into your website and started, because I read a little bit about you, because I have to say, I did do one of Michelle's retreats, which we mentioned. I went to Italy, to Tuscany, to be specific. It was the most glorious and a transformational time of my life for many reasons. And I'll get into it a little bit down the line in the show, because I want to get back to your path. But the thing that got me there was my daughter was the yoga instructor, because it was a yoga retreat, and it was her birthday, and I wanted to be with her, and it was time for a vacation. And boy, it became so much more than that to me. Yeah. And that, I don't know, where was it, 8 or 9 days was like magical for me. And I'm going to, like I said, get into that a little bit deeper as we keep going here. But you were at USM and said, I'm going to change. I'm doing this. So what?
I think my sentiment was along the lines of, with my job, I had experienced anxiety, or, not because of the job, but what I noticed is patterns of anxiety or stress in my life, or working too much, or
did you find you were sick more, that you had more ailments than normal?
I actually didn't notice that, but I think just physically I felt tense a lot.
Okay, yeah, and that can accumulate and cause problems.
But a lot of different things just kind of snuck up on me, just recognizing patterns in my life around relationships or negative patterning that I was really seeking to understand and to heal, and I was willing to do everything in order to do that. And so that meant for me to leave my job and really focus on kind of that discovery process of who am I? What is my truth? And if I'm not identifying myself with, my income or my job or where I live or being in a relationship or whatever, what does that look like for me? And
wow,
I want to live from that place and understand that. And so when I left, interestingly, at some point, I started traveling and spent some time traveling around the world a little bit by myself. But I also came back and was where I met your daughter is in the commercials. That was my side hustle for a little bit, which was so random for me, but it was also a blessing at the time.
Yeah,
I was so grateful for it. It was very flexible, but I had a chance to meet Marissa, who I adore. She's an amazing yoga instructor.
Yes, Marissa, if you're listening, or you will be listening, I know she's working right now.
No. I'm so grateful to have met her. And so, and all the people I meet on my path of just sort of going out there and following my heart, it's led me to amazing connections.
Yeah, I can see that. And again, you never know. You think, because you have a yoga certification as well, because you're a yoga instructor.
I do, yeah.
And you're an amazing yogi, because I've done yoga right beside you, and I've seen that, so I know. So at what point did you get your certification in yoga? Were you at USM?
I had graduated from USM. I had been traveling a little bit. I decided to do my intention was to go after a couple years of this sort of not working, was to go back to work and get another job in California and settle down a little bit again.
Back in finance or back in?
Well, probably back in the same field of, biotech or pharmaceuticals. Anyways, I decided I was going to do one last 2-month stint in Florence, Italy for a yoga teacher training just for my own benefit, just so I could have my
just
own
to
practice.
get away, do yoga, be in a different land,
and how
I
exciting!
Just
wanted my own practice for my life, something I could always have for me wherever I went. And so I went, and I ended up staying, instead of 2 months, I ended up staying 4 months.
Fell in love with Florence, did we?
Fell in love
Such
with
a magical
Italy,
city.
Florence, yes, and I met a lot of amazing people, and I ended up going to places all over Italy that I'd never seen before, that were so
awakening,
stunning and pristine and authentic. And I thought, Americans aren't coming to these places. These are beautiful.
They need to be seen.
Yes.
Yeah.
And so when I came back to LA after those 4 months, I just sort of decided I'm going to go back and I'm going to start this business that does retreats. And I didn't even know at the time I'd be doing coaching or the yoga. I just was like, retreats. I'm going to bring people over to these places. I'm going to show them how beautiful it is. And that's what I'm going to do.
I had no idea. That you said in your head that you're going to do that. And you're literally making a living at it and doing these spectacular retreats all over the world.
It's actually...
How
shocking to me too.
I know, but you put it, point being, you had an intention and you turned it into action. A lot of people have intentions that don't actually go to fruition like this, and you really created something special.
Yeah, well, it's taken time. I mean, that was like 5 years ago.
Okay.
And I wasn't clear about a lot, and I didn't have everything figured out, and I didn't know what I was how I was really going to make money in these years when I was starting, and how I was, the marketing, everything was so new to me. And I, building my own website and figuring everything out on my own. And it was challenging, but I have that sort of entrepreneurial archetype. I love the process of learning, and taking risk is maybe easier for me than other people.
Yeah.
But I'm telling you, there was so much struggle in it. I mean, I think that, I teach this class called The Energy of Money, and a lot of it's based on, I did so much deep processing around having and then not having, and then taking risks to continue on a path where I wasn't having for a long time. And I think that, understanding the concept of abundance and scarcity and and getting to a place now where I understand that things really don't make a difference to me in my life any longer. Having things.
Right.
It really doesn't light me up. But what does is the service. What does is the connection between like-minded people on the retreats.
Yeah.
What does is feeling like I've helped one person move through a block in their life that is huge.
Which these retreats absolutely do for you. And, you had to come to that place, too, to find that. It was a process for you. It was, stepping stones that you had to take. And if it wasn't a struggle, the struggle makes it worth it, and the little dents or failures or the little, roads that go down before they lead back up, that's the only way to find your way to where you're at now. And you're still expanding. You're still growing and
Sure,
and it's when we stop growing is when we should really stop and take pause, like something's blocking us, And I love that your inspiration, that you were able to, I'm not going to say fight through it, but you were able to kind of, punch your way through, to break through, to find out that things in your life don't matter. What matters is this wonderful feeling of what you're creating for these other people. What you're, when you give of yourself, of something you're so passionate about, other people absorb that, and you get it right back. It just comes like this in a little circle. I love that you've done that. And I had no idea that it would be any more than a vacation, because I'd been into this area before. I've done this area of the world before when the kids were little and I was married. We did it as a family. And though it was a great trip, it was a different experience to go with a family and kind of drive through wine country, Tuscany, and do that part of the world. But to do it through what you've created, not only from the spiritual sense, but also from the camaraderie sense of meeting people from all over the world. We had people on these retreats from all over the world on this retreat, and I know you do on all of your retreats. And then creating a bond and a friendship that I know will be lasting. I keep in touch with just about everybody.
Yeah.
And
you guys had a party.
We had a party. Well, we had the local people. Yeah, we had a party because we had a lot of wine come back from Italy. Thank you, Laura and Michael. And we had an Italian party drinking some great wine.
I love that so much. It made me really happy to hear that.
Oh, man. And I'm sure it's happening with a lot of connections that you make with people throughout your retreats. Let's talk a little bit about now you've taken the step. You're now jumping into these retreats. How did it start? And then let's talk about all the places you go and what you do.
The retreats? How did the retreats start?
So,
because I only do retreats that in areas where I know very well and I'm really familiar with, and I want to share certain restaurants and certain excursions, and that's important for me. My retreats are really more kind of boutique curated travel experiences with this wellness component. So it's not like a regular yoga retreat where you're just doing yoga all day and then you can go off and kind of like do whatever you want. This is a travel experience, and the food is really important to me.
Oh my God. Did Michelle create the most culinary delights that we had during that retreat? Go ahead.
Yes.
Sorry.
Yes.
Had to get that in there.
No, it's true.
Some of the best food I've ever had in my life.
Yeah. I mean, that retreat for me, the one you went on, was extremely special because I live there. So it really gave me a chance to kind of shine, I think, in that area and share with you guys just the most beautiful experiences that I know of there. So my very first retreat started 5 years ago, and it was in Tuscany. And I think there were, 4 people, maybe 5 people, and I wasn't even teaching yoga. I hired somebody else to do it because I wasn't even thinking I was going to do that.
Yeah.
And, all of these things sort of began to evolve as we are open to the experience of not knowing what it needs to, it has to look like. It's just It just comes to you. It just happens because it evolves naturally and organically, which is kind of what we want, right? So it started.
So that started it. That started in Italy. And it started to grow from there. So you started to travel. You would go to places on your own ahead before you would, like you said, and curate.
Right.
Test restaurants and hotels and wineries.
So, in Mexico, like San Miguel, for example.
Which is the next
it's
retreat.
Like one of my favorite, most beautiful. Which is the next retreat you're coming on. You're going to love it. It's an amazing gem in Mexico. It's in the middle of the country. It feels like Europe, and it's everything. It has everything there. And
you went ahead before you even had a retreat started there and checked out all the things that you wanted your retreat to be.
Well, I did like a mini kind of retreat the first time that wasn't exactly a scouting. You're talking about like a scouting
trip. Check it out.
It actually was. I did sort of this little, I kind of went for it with a small group in the beginning for this one because I was dying to go and I had people that wanted to come. So I just was like, let's do this. But now it's like perfected. So you're going to have the best experience.
I love that. I love that because you weed it out. You know, and that's the thing I want to say about retreats. And I know we're talking, people are thinking, oh, well, that's great if you can afford it. But really, this is very affordable. If you're thinking about taking a vacation and going on a retreat, especially something, Michelle has impeccable taste, not only on where we stay, but all of the little adventures and little side trips that we do every single day, and all the food that we eat and everything that's incorporated into it. And when we say yoga retreat, I know because I've been telling friends about you, they're like, oh, I'm not really that into yoga. Well, you don't have to be, because number one, the yoga is optional, and number two, even if you did it's geared towards any level. It's not like this, high-powered level 3 type thing in a hot room. This is any level, and I can tell you that I am most people know me in the fitness world to be fast and furious and not very into the whole yoga thing, but this is very peaceful and wonderful, and I can do it. So if I can do it, anybody can do it. That's my point. And you've managed to create a 5-star, 6-star experience without the 6 stars price. So it's really doable, is what I'm saying. And though I sound like an infomercial, I'm so passionate about what you create for people. And not everybody, I've heard and been on other type smaller retreats, and it just isn't the same. It isn't the same because it doesn't have the exquisite taste behind it and the passion to create the experience for them, not for you. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's just really, it's really fascinating.
I appreciate you saying that in a way, because I do know of like kind of high-end luxury retreats or group type travel experiences, and they're really, really a lot more expensive than mine, and yet they're not
half of what yours are.
They're not giving the same. But
exactly, that's my point.
Yeah, but
you said it better.
And I'm not saying that maybe I shouldn't be charging more, or that eventually, things will change with that, because it's not that we don't want to make a profit. I think, though, originally what I was doing was growing my business by offering so much, and also my intentions when I created these retreats were originally around creating a platform for healing and wellness. Mm-hmm. It was connecting like-minded people, and it was sharing an amazing travel experience with people and helping to inspire their lives. So I had a really service-oriented mindset when creating them, and I think originally and I knew that my business was going to grow organically.
Right. And
more word of mouth, more referrals, and more. So I just sort of created the structure to allow that to happen.
Yeah, which is so amazingly wonderful, because it is really sparking and taking off. Let's talk about what a typical year is like for you in retreats. How many retreats do you do a year? Where are they? And
so I do some of my own, and I've been hired by a friend and a good friend of mine in Italy, and she has a retreat company, and she has so many retreats. She hires me to run some of hers for her also.
Okay.
So I don't know if you knew that part about my work, but so I do, this last year, I think I had 4 of my own, and then I led 4 of hers. And when I lead her retreats, I do either, I teach yoga and or coaching on them. Yeah.
That's great. Now, so talk about where these are, where you've gone, and then we'll talk about specifically what you're offering in 2020. Okay. Because you have a retreat coming up right after the first. You have one before San Miguel, right?
I do, in Tulum.
In Tulum, yeah.
Right.
So we'll talk about that. But what I want to talk about is your retreats and how the healing spiritual part of it comes in, and what you've seen. What your intention was when you first started creating these retreats, and now what's kind of come out of it, what you've seen, that this connection that your guests have, and that,
it's really magical. I have to say, especially when I have this coaching component in the retreats, where I have people, you're already taking yourself out of your day-to-day experience. Your crown chakra's open, you're letting the inspiration through the travel and the beauty coming in already. People are already feeling inspired. They're already feeling more open. So then you put them in a situation where you're in a retreat setting, and we're all sitting around and sharing and being more vulnerable, and creating that sort of safe container for people to be able to take a deeper look at their lives, and grander perspective of how they're creating their lives and what they're creating in their lives. And so a lot of those workshops are around this idea of co-creation. How are you, with your awareness and your consciousness, creating your life and the life that you want? What's the vision for you? And so we talk a lot about that, and from the perspective always through spiritual psychology and empowerment. And so you talk about, the name of your show is the Balanced Life.
Yeah.
And I think retreats really help to do that, because what is balanced mean? It really means you're feeling empowered. You feel like you're in your midline, you're powerful, you feel centered. And that's what we say. So retreats give you an opportunity, and especially with the coaching and the workshops, to come back to your power and take that back with you into your day-to-day life.
Right. It's so true. So true. Because balanced has many meanings, balanced life. And one of the reasons why I call the show that is because it can mean many things. And one is what you just said. And then we can get into the more physical part of how you eat has to be balanced. You know, how you exercise. You can't be too extreme on one end or too extreme on the other with anything. And that goes through all areas of your life.
Well, it's cosmic law.
Yeah.
It's called the law of balance.
Right.
And if you go any far into extreme in any area of your life, then you're thrown off, and you're lost energy.
All this energy
You've
is gone.
lost life force in doing so.
Exactly. Alignment is pivotal to growth, is what I think. And you create these experiences that keep you in alignment, which is important. And it was funny because on our particular retreat, one of the guests was into astrology. She was kind of a clairvoyant, actually, and we had a full moon dance party. And this is so beautiful. In September, in Tuscany, outside by the pool at our, estate that we were staying at.
I know.
And all of a sudden, out came a speaker and a playlist. Dancing in the Moonlight came on. Every single one of us, what were there, 13 of us, I think? Every single one of us got up and danced. It was so cleansing to do that moment. Sure. And I know you and Marissa, because you guys were the working girls, but the rest of us were. And this is where it came in, because I do have, my daughter was on this retreat. I did have, a relative on this retreat, a comrade. If everything else went south, I had my child. Just the opposite happened. We didn't hang on each other at all. I made friends with we had all age groups there. I was obviously one of the oldest. But yet we all had this connection to each other. So when you and Marissa went to bed that night, this full moon night, we wanted to manifest what we wanted the coming year to look like. And we were guided through being able to do this through Hillary. And she helped us. She talked about our signs. She talked about where we stand. But first we had to go around and say what we wanted to manifest, what we wanted the next coming year to look like. And it was so cathartic for all of us and so opening to talk about it, and there were tears and laughter, and there was dancing, and we had people, well, before you left, people were jumping in the pool with their clothes on.
I saw that.
Yeah.
I was there for that.
It was probably one of the best nights of my life. And I will always remember it. I do have a lot of it on video, but I had no idea when I signed up, that, like I said in the beginning, that this is what was going to come out of that. And I'm sure you see similar things like this in a lot of your retreats.
Yes.
Am I correct?
Absolutely. I have so many. Not only have I made amazing friendships along the way, at every retreat there's always a massive connection I make, but I see other people connecting and they become best friends, or they travel together in the future. They're, I have a workshop this January, like an intention setting workshop in Manhattan Beach. I'm doing live, and I have 2 past retreat guests that are coming down together from different.
You do. That's very cool.
Yeah, for that. It's like, and
because you've created these bonds that I think when people travel together, the bond is different than going to dinner, even once a week together. It's or exercising together, however or going to school together, however your friends come to you. When you travel together, it's morning, noon, and night, and you're really getting to know a person. And granted, when you're on vacation, it's a little bit more open, a little more free, a little less stressful. But you still, it gives you opportunity to open up to your true authentic self with this person. And they see, in this case, I had a roommate as somebody I didn't hope. Shout out to you. Hi, Hope. I hope you're well. And, I got to know somebody who lives on the other side of the country or in the middle of the country that I would never have met.
Amazing.
Or made that connection with. And it hopefully is a lifetime connection, because it felt good. It's just you create these experiences that are so invaluable. let's talk about in the time we have left, which is 10 minutes.
Oh,
let's
okay.
talk about,
Did go
I
fast.
know, right? I want to talk about the workshop, because that's the next thing you have coming up right away that anybody in the LA area can get involved in, correct?
Right. So this is my 5th or 6th annual time I'm doing this with a friend of mine, an astrologist, Donna Flood. And every year in January, around the middle of January, we do a workshop. It's like a 3 or 4 hour experience, and the idea behind it is, one, she's going to go through astrology, what's going to go on in the stars in 2020. She's going to give everybody a mini reading based on their sign and when they were born, and what they can expect for the year, which is really fun. And then I lead everybody in the process of intention setting, but more so kind of going deeper and closing out the year of 2019. We're going to create vision, really, and talk a little bit about
Intention.
what closure is, letting go of things that aren't serving us, and then how to really kind of open to the mystery of what's going to unfold and help guide it with the energy we pave through intentions.
Yeah, manifest that, which is what we were talking about earlier. Letting go, being open to let the fear drop off, and being open to wherever it may take you. But the first thing you have to do is get out of the frozen part. So it's, and people, I realize, we can read about it, we can listen to videos about it, but really that's what coaching is about, to give you the tools and to help you let go with somebody who usually has been there and done that and knows it from a personal experience, but also is professional enough to help you keep moving and get, be your cheerleader, if you will. I always say, I'm a personal trainer, so I'm a coach to people. A lot of my clients, they can do this on their own. Will they do it as well? No. Will they have somebody behind them, pushing them a little bit harder, telling them that they are capable of going to the next level? No, they can't do that on their own. So that's where I come in. I think in every walk of life, we need coaches. We need help. We need...
That's what we're here for. Communities here. We're here to help each other.
That's right. So I think this is such a great thing to do. I think when is it? It's the 11th?
No, it's January 19th from 11 to 3 in Manhattan Beach. Yeah.
Is that is a Saturday?
It's a Sunday.
A Sunday from 11 to 3.
Right.
Very cool.
Yeah,
Very
thank
cool.
you.
So
Thank you.
now let's talk about the retreats, and then we're going to tell everybody how they can sign up and get a hold of you, because can I ask you, do you do the same retreats on at the same time of year on a rotation basis now that you're into it?
I have the last couple years because I'm in Los Angeles over the winter almost every year. So I like to go to Mexico doing the retreats during that time. Plus, it's a great time of year to go. The weather's fantastic there. And then I love Morocco in the spring. Also, the fall is amazing
next year.
too. Yeah,
it's 2021 for me.
I love it when there's still snow on the caps of the Atlas Mountains, when everything's in bloom and it hasn't gone through that scorching hot summer.
Right.
So everything's dead after that. So
see, that's what's so good is you vet out the time of year too, not just the places.
My favorite, and I love Morocco, so I will always continue doing it there because I'm always wanting to go back. And Italy, and then everything else sort of is mixed up, changes in terms of when and how and where. Yeah, based on those kind of
availability and those kinds of things. And
well, it changes, and where I go changes, because if I'm working for my friend Erin and I do a few of her retreats, those change every year. Like this year, I'll be doing Ischia for her.
Yeah, we talked about that when we were in Italy.
Fantastic,
I want to hit that. You did that, I think, right after we left.
Yeah.
So, a couple of weeks after we left, and it looked amazing. That's where they shot. What movie did they shoot there? The fabulous,
talented Mr. Ripley.
Yeah.
Yes.
And we're going to talk about how to go to because you have a lot of these photographs on your website, and they're magical. These places are just insane.
Italy's magical, really.
So tell me what you're doing for 2020. What are the trips?
As of right now, I have Tulum at the end of January. I have 2 retreats in San Miguel, and the end of February, beginning of March. And then I have Bali at the end of March. I have Marrakesh at the end of April. And then I kind of have this space of not doing any retreats and leaving that open. And then October, or the end of September, I have Ischia, and then October, I have Morocco again.
Wow.
So that's where, and I don't even have the Chianti one on the books, so I don't really know what I'm going to do.
So
with
that could get in there somewhere when you have a little bit, possibly.
But I generally plan these about a year out.
That was my next question. So you plan these a year out. And then the planning stage is just curious, my own personal, so when you plan them, you go ahead and you book the space, and then you plan, because again, you create all these experiences for your groups during the time that they're there. Those are well planned. I mean, the lunches and the dinners and the individual tours that we took. That's a lot of, I mean, it's a good thing. You're so organized.
It's a lot of work.
Yeah.
It's a lot of kind of
logistics.
Like everything has to, and I get a little type A sometimes.
Well, but you're so good at it. You
that's
keep
when
a
it
very
works in my favor. That perfectionism part of me that kicks in. I'm like, okay, well, let it go for that.
But the spiritual part kicks in too, because you're very zen about it, which we don't see it if you're not.
Really?
Just so you know, I don't know.
That's good.
Somebody may take the brunt of that, but your guests
I'm a little
don't.
bit of a Nazi about time. Like I'm like, okay, we have to leave on time. We have to, but it just keeps everything kind of like flowing in a good way.
And keeps nobody upset too.
Right.
Except for the person who's late.
That's right.
We experienced
and we leave
that.
them.
Yeah. Well, almost. We almost did that a few times. Yeah, because you have transportation set up. I mean, vans pull up. These are luxury vans with drivers that take us wherever we're going, and that's time and money too. And this is all preset and paid, and it's really important. So it's a big deal. So in the few minutes that we have left, so something about your website stuck out to me because we were just talking about it, and there's I think it's on your coaching. It's either on your coaching or about page of your website. And you talk about your love values and your beliefs, and you break it down into community, integrity, service, love, and personal responsibility. Love is at the bottom, because I think love encompasses all of those values. And I love, I'm not going to make you go through them, but I love the fact that you literally go and separate your personal values that you use in your retreats and your workshops and your talks and the way that you inspire people. Because without your values, we won't believe you. There's no authenticity, And so do you want to talk a little bit, just more in general?
I think in general, and it comes down to kind of my philosophy with coaching anyways, is that everything flows from our values. Everything does. So getting clear about who we are and what is most meaningful for us, everything follows from that. Then you can begin to empower your life with choices that are in alignment with those values. And then you'll begin to see the life that you would really like to see happen, manifest.
Yeah.
And so for me, those values that I set forth are really extensions of my intentions and really holding a core sense of what I'm about, and that I'm going to create that as a foundation for everything that I do in coaching or my retreats, and that will hold. That's enough to hold the experience for everybody. It's like I do all the type A details, but really it's the intentions that are being held for people that are very strong, that allow them to have the experience that they have.
I love that, because that and that's, I just have to say that I'm saying a lot today about that, because I am so enamored with these retreats, and because of your authenticity and because those values are set across, it completely translates to us, to your guests, to those that are coming. And like you said, you deal with all the details and the type A stuff, and that's another part, taking that stress away, because after I left you, I went and went on and took another 10 days to explore on my own with a girlfriend. And it was an invaluable experience too, but it was a lot more work. And it was a lot more stress to figure out, and we hadn't vetted things ahead of time, so it was the unknown, and not every Airbnb or hotel was what we thought. Sure. And the distance, we were talking about earlier, the time it took to take trains and transportation wasn't what we thought, or what we, and it just, you've already done all that for us. So you taking that element out allows us to go much deeper within our souls and to transform.
Well, you can let go and
Yeah.
just enjoy yourself.
And
And everything's
that's-
taken care of, and you know it's good, and you're loving it, and it's also every day's a surprise. And
It really was.
Yeah.
And one day just topped the other, and you're just going, really? Really? What's in store for tomorrow? Like, it was so spectacular.
I loved having
Oh,
you.
thank you so much. I'm
You were
so
such
glad,
a light
Marissa.
on the retreat. You were so
Well,
supportive.
thank you.
and
I became the mother hen, the diplomat.
It was perfect.
But I
truly.
don't mind. That's my personality. It's who I am. And I love that I got to share who I am with people that didn't know me.
Me too.
Because some people may be sick of who I am, you know, and so this was good to share with a new crop. So what I'd like to do, let's talk about how people can get a hold of you.
Okay.
And then I guess always leave me with final words of wisdom or just thoughts, anything that you want to kind of let go of and let the audience know before we leave. But first, how can people get a hold of you? We'll put
they
it
can
up on
go
the
to
screen.
my website, which is thejourneyworthtaking.com. So that's hopefully pretty easy.
Yep.
And information on coaching and retreats is all
there, and how to get a hold of you, how to sign up for everything.
You can sign up for a newsletter. You can sign up for. You can do anything. You can
Yes.
contact me.
You have a
from
great blog on there. And the blog that
Thanks.
you wrote, I'm going to recommend that you go there just to read the blog alone from November 2019, because a lot of what we were talking about is part of that blog.
Yeah.
It's you sort of reflecting back on the year, but it's also, I think it pertains to all of us.
Yeah.
And I really enjoyed that blog, and I sent it to my younger daughter to read. And I said, you need to read
Oh,
Michelle's
that's
blog.
so
This is a
great.
really,
Aw.
really cool thing. And you have other blogs, too. It's just this one resonated with me, and it's the most recent.
Okay.
So, I mean, Michelle's got her coaching on there, her blog's on there, and then when you hit on a specific retreat, it gives you details. It shows you photos. It tells you what your day trips are going to be. It tells you where you're flying in and out of. You know, it's just so detailed and precise. It's a travel log, so just go look them, check them out. Even if you know this year you can't do it, it's really just pictures of beauty, and it's just inspirational. So I thank you. I want you to leave us today with some
something.
final
Okay,
thoughts.
well, honestly, like I would just tell. I mean, if I don't generally give advice, but I will say that I really encourage people to seek their truth and live by that, because that's where their power is. That's where they're going to get the most juice out of creating a life that feels alive and free and meaningful.
I love that. That's where your power is, in your truth.
It's in your personal truth, your lane. Stay there, know you, and just be with that, and everything will fall into place.
Wow, that's so true. I just love your mindset and your philosophy, and that you're creating these experiences to spread that throughout your the people that
Thank you,
that have the
Debbie.
privilege of joining you.
I'm so honored to be on this show. Thank you so much.
Thank you so
Really
much,
appreciate
Michelle.
it.
I'm so glad I caught you in your little moments. And I want to thank you for checking us out on this special time and day so I could highlight this wonderful guest. I highlight Michelle. And I am going to be back. I am taking next week off, so Merry Christmas and Happy New Year, everybody. My next show is going to be the 14th, I think we said, of January. So that's my next show, and I'm going to see you on the 14th. In the meantime, you're welcome to go to my YouTube channel, Balanced Life by Debbie at YouTube, or go to my website, balancedlifebydebbie.com. Everything's there. It takes you straight to my YouTube channel and all my shows throughout the year. I thank you for joining us. Have a wonderful rest of the holiday season. And remember to keep finding those conversations, like the one we had today, that connect to a healthier you. Bye, everybody. Bye.